stuff that when he was working with Monk, he wrote down a bunch of Monk tunes. He started some sketches for pieces that he never finished. Stuff like that. Stuff in his handwriting, whatever that's worth.
Uh-huh.
I don't know.
Would you be able to make a copy of whatever you think would be significant and send it to the society here?
Sure.
And anything you could tell me right now, where this is a watch line, so you can talk as much as you'd like if you have the time.
Well, yeah. And I met Scott in 1960.
I'm recording this, by the way.
Okay, I met Scott in 1960, or I don't know, maybe before that. And we were not well acquainted. He came to a recording date that I did with Don Friedman and Joe Hunt. And after hearing me play and recognizing some similarity of approach, we became real good friends, and this was in the spring of 1961, April or May. We then got to be very good friends, and a bunch of connections occurred having to do with Paula Robeson, the flutist, who was subletting my apartment and working in...
Say Paula?
Paula, yeah.
Robeson?
Robeson.
Like Paul Robeson.
Paul Robeson is somebody else. That's Robeson. It's also somebody I knew well. But Paula Robeson, Robison, is a very well-known flutist. She's with the Lincoln Center Chamber Players. In any case, she was a student at Juilliard and a friend of mine, and she was working in Jones Beach at the Guy Lombardo Theater, where Scott's girlfriend Gloria was a dancer. And so we all became friends, and I left for Europe. Scotty was working with Bill. And to make a long story short, I got a letter from Paula in Spoleto and walked around all day with it in my pocket thinking, oh, I've got a nice letter from Paula, and finally sat down to read it, and it said that Scott had been killed in that accident.
Yeah.
At which point I had real horrible mixed feelings, because I envied his position with Bill, and knew I wasn't going to get it until he left, and here he was gone.
Yeah.
And that I was the next logical candidate. In fact, I had to finish out that tour in Europe all that summer, and when I got back, there was a telephone call from Bill saying, come and play with us.
Yeah.
I can't say that I knew Scott very long, or that I knew a lot about him that you couldn't find out from listening to his music. He was a serious and dedicated guy, and passionate and obsessed, and wonderful musician and a real interesting character.
Yeah.
But I didn't know him for a long enough period of time to have any special insights that would be useful in... I don't know anything you couldn't find out from listening to his music.
Yeah, okay.
I don't remember how I came... I think probably Gloria gave me the notebook.
What was her last name?
I don't remember
Okay.
now.
She
was a half Filipino, half Italian beauty who now lives in California somewhere, and I suppose I could trace her if I... Oh, I'm not even sure I could if now that Bill's dead. I'm not... Yes, I do know where I could find her, but it would be a matter of digging up Victor Feldman's family, and I could probably find her. But it's not easy.
That's all right. Could you just tell me what your favorite recordings are of Scotty's, and maybe a little why?
Well, I don't know that I have any special favorites, except all the recordings he made with Bill seem to me to be equally interesting and equally beautiful. I think one of the things that's wrong in the way people view history is that they attach artistic accomplishments often to one person, when in fact it's almost always a group of people that make things happen. Scotty was the most known and certainly the greatest virtuoso among a bunch of bass players in New York, all of whom were kind of leaning in the same direction, including Steve Swallow and Charlie Hayden and myself. And there was a guy in California named Albert Stinson, who may have been the most gifted of all of us, who died young of various kinds of drug abuses and things like that. But not to take anything away from Scott's accomplishments, which were enormous, but he didn't invent all that he appears to have invented all by himself. It was in the air, just like Dizzy Gillespie and Charlie Parker didn't invent bebop all themselves.
Yeah, right.
And the reason I got the job immediately after Scott was because I had a relationship with Bill Evans that went back several years before that, 4 or 5 years. And I was the one of the several people besides Scott that Bill happened to know. But it could have as easily been Steve Swallow or Albert Stinson if Bill had known them.
I see. Sure. It's like Pettiford and Blanton.
Exactly.
They both, one wasn't an extension of the other. They just happened at the same time.
Right.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. What did you think of Scotty's playing when he played with Ornette?
Well, I wasn't terribly interested in that music, and so I don't know that I paid a whole lot of attention to it.
Yeah, I felt the same way. I was 20 when I started listening to some of that in 1960. And that struck me the same way.
Yeah. I felt like Ornette had some interesting tunes that he performed very well, and that it was real refreshing to hear some of the rhythmic variety in his playing, but that apart from that, it was pretty raggedy and disorganized, and I've had enough of kind of standard European music training to recognize that it's pretty hard to improvise Webern, and that you're better off planning that. You have to have some kind of planning to make that music really work. I mean, if you compare that stuff with Alban Berg and Webern and God knows what other examples of some well-organized, strong, modern music, the improvised versions of those things come off pretty lame.
I like that Charlie Hayden recently is saying that he has rediscovered and re-enjoys her playing changes. He likes to play changes.
Yeah, well,
and that's the freest, to me, that's the freest way.
Yeah.
That's the most freedom. Did you ever hear any Scotty with Stan Getz?
Yes, a little bit. He was working with Stan the night before he died. And I've also worked with Stan. I think both Scotty and I enjoyed some aspects of working with Stan. Stan has a lot of energy in his playing, and it's uplifting to play with him in that respect. But he's such a pain in the neck as a person that nobody that I can think of enjoys him very much. I just worked with him a couple of weeks ago, and he's just had an enormous operation to remove a tumor from his chest, and it did frighten him and calm him down somewhat, but I still find myself leaning over backwards, trying to be nice to him when I don't really feel like it, and I end up thinking, my God, what am I lying for?
Yeah.
And so
trying to make it pleasant.
Yeah, trying to keep his paranoia in line, because if not, he's liable to attack.
Do you remember where Stan Getz was playing the night before Scotty died?
Oh yeah, it was at the Newport Jazz Festival in Newport, Rhode Island, and Scotty was driving home to Geneva, New York, on the New York Thruway, and he was with one other guy, and they stopped in Syracuse to visit Gap Mangione. And the story that I heard was that Gap had a girl with him, and Scotty and this guy. And Gap said, "That's okay. Crash on the couch in the living room. No problem." And for one reason or another, Scotty and this guy decided to press on, and shortly after that, ended up smashed into a tree.
Okay, well, one story someone told me that must not be true is that
I'm not sure that that's true. That's just the story that I heard.
They were coming from a party.
Well,
Well, it would make more sense, what you're saying.
I think the person who would know the answer would be Gap Mangione.
Would you have any idea how I'd get a hold of him? I met him once in Syracuse.
I imagine he's still in Rochester.
I was in Syracuse when Scotty was killed. I was going to school there.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like we were, I guess, some of the first people that heard about it. And I met Gap then, and ChUCK too. They had the Jazz Brothers then.
Mm-hmm.
Ron Carter was playing with them. You know, I just got through talking to Milt Hinton, and Milt said that on the Stan Getz album that Scotty was doing, Milt ended up finishing that album. And I never realized that, anything like that. That was kind of strange. I was talking to Milt about an entirely different article.
Uh-huh. Well, I think if you want to find out the circumstances of Scott's accident, I think Gap is probably the last person that saw him. At least that's what I know. And if I were going to look for Gap, I would start looking in the Rochester phone book.
Rochester, okay. A friend of mine, David Remington, he was just teaching up there. Maybe he would.
Somebody in Rochester could find him. Maybe Bill Dobbins at the Eastman School.
Okay.
He might know
I
how to.
don't know this Bill Dobbins. What's he?
He's the head of the master's degree program in jazz at the Eastman School, and he's a brilliant guy, a wonderful musician and pianist. And he's just somebody I know, and I know him very well. And as a matter of fact, he was just out here a couple of weeks ago, and he's. It's likely that he would know where Gap was.
That would be the best, I think.
Call Bill and ask him if he knows where Gap is.
Okay.
And if Bill is not at school, I'll give you his home number. I would love to be helpful in some way.
Well, you're already helpful quite a bit. Thank you very much.
Well,
there's some information that I hadn't known at all before. But just your ideas about Albert Stinson, I mean, that's very interesting, too.
Yeah, I think
very true.
Yeah, I think he was really the, probably in terms of raw talent, the most gifted of the guys that were. It came easy to him, or at least it seemed to.
Yeah.
Well, tell me your address and where I should send, if I go through this thing and find some pages that look interesting in some way, they may just be a kind of graphically, just to show the guy's handwriting, I don't know, and to show some sketch of something that he was working on.
It would be, that would be very...
It might just look good on the page, and I would be glad to send you that if you...
I think that the bassist would really like that, yeah.
Well, tell me where to send it, and I'll take a look.
Okay.
I've got a lot of organizing to do in the next week or two, so I might as well pull that out and Xerox a few pages for you.
It's the International Society of Bassists, School of Music, Northwestern University. That's Evanston, Illinois. 60201.
60201. I know several people there.
They changed it?
One of my bases is now in Evanston.
I'm sorry, they changed our zip code.
It's not 60201?
It's 60208.
08.
When did they do that? Anyway.
Do you know a young bassist named Doug Johnson?
No, I don't.
He's at school there and owns a bass that I just sold him last year.
You know Doug Johnson? Yes. Paula here knows him.
And who is the musicologist that specializes in African music and plays the flugelhorn? Paul Berliner. Do you know him?
No, I don't.
Guy on the faculty there that I know a little bit. Well, I'll, and what's your name, John?
I'm John Bany, B-A-N-Y. And when we finish this, I'll make sure you get a copy. Oh, could you give me your address?
Sure.
Okay.
And I'll look up something, John, and I'll pick out a few interesting pages, make some copies. And send
that would be great. I mean, I know that everyone would like to see that, and It's in his handwriting, too, which is something special.
Yeah.
You know. It's very difficult to find anything like that.
Yeah, I know.
That's just great.
Okay.
I'm so glad we finally got to talk.
Well, I'm delighted if it's some help to you.
It is quite a lot. And I'm going to try to get a hold of Bill Dobbins right now.
Yeah, see if he knows where Gap is. Anyway, he'll know enough people so that if you keep pursuing this, eventually you'll come up with Gap. And I'm almost sure that Gap was the last guy to see Scotty.
Okay.
Okay?
Yes.
Good luck, John.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Chuck, it's a pleasure.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.